it's got to clearly depend on how bad the shot is, though. Because if you get fouled and knocked unconscious and then you come back,
you're just going to get knocked out.
Yeah.
If you get knocked out, that's why boxing, right?
Comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms.
It was like a big part of it is speed. Anthony Joshua has that kind of speed.
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul being taken to the hospital after the knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, while discussing the moment alongside Daniel Cormier. Rogan highlighted how devastating the punch appeared and reiterated how dangerous boxing can be. He explained that when fighters are caught cleanly at that level, the consequences can be severe and long-lasting. Rogan emphasized that results are never completely predictable and that shots like that can cause permanent damage that fighters may carry for the rest of their lives.
Out cold.
He was
and then
done.
He outboxed him for the rest of the round.
How? But again, in MMA, fight probably would have been over, and he would have took less damage.
Right, but isn't that a better...
Sports doctor Brian Sutterer analyzed the aftermath of the knockout using a calm, medical-focused approach. He explained that while the fight's outcome was largely expected by many, the real concern emerged after Jake Paul said he feared his jaw had been broken. According to Sutterer, a jaw fracture was entirely possible based on how Anthony Joshua's right hand landed cleanly on the left side of Jake's face. However, he emphasized that a concussion would be the more serious issue. Sutterer noted that jaw injuries are often secondary at first compared to greater risks involving the head, neck, or airway. The sudden and forceful rotation of Jake's head caused by the punch likely sent significant rotational force through the brain and brainstem, increasing the risk of concussion. Even though Jake was not fully knocked unconscious, Sutterer pointed out that delayed symptoms could still occur. Jake's immediate reaction and visible shock suggested he was aware that something serious had taken place.
Not the outcome that we all expected. After the fight, though, Jake told Ariel Helwani that he was worried that he had broke his jaw. He said multiple times he was concerned that he had a fractured jaw. And certainly looking at this knockout punch that Anthony Joshua delivers, it is absolutely a possibility that Jake does in fact have a jaw fracture. I'd honestly be more concerned about a concussion. In fact, with most jaw fractures, the more important thing initially is to look for other injuries to the head, to the neck, to the airway. The jaw fracture potentially being there or not is going to be lower on the list often than whether there's damage to the airway, damage to the head. And so very possible to have a concussion or some residual symptoms from this, as Jake Paul's head is relatively still here. We see AJ comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms. But you can see where the punch comes in, landing square on that left side of Paul's face. Jake's reaction was pretty telling too. Right away after it, we could see him going down on the canvas here and being very shocked. It doesn't look like there's any obvious deformity to the jaw. We won't necessarily always see a deformity to the jaw, but you could tell he clearly had realized that something serious had happened there and feeling the full power of AJ's right. And finally, on this last view, we can see a little bit better the exact location where the punch comes in. We'll talk about our jaw anatomy, the different areas of the bones, but your temporomandibular joint, where your jaw articulates with the rest of your skull, is sitting right around in this area, and the jaw is roughly coming down in this orientation. And so where that punch comes in from Joshua is a little bit more kind of flush right in the center of the mandible, but also up close near.
Rogan had predicted even before the fight that things would not go well for Jake Paul. He explained that Jake was accustomed to competing against older or retired opponents, but this time he was facing one of the top heavyweights in the world. Rogan cautioned that the gap in level would be harsh and dangerous.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
What do you think about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
Boy. Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight so you could see. Let's watch that real quick, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him.
The fallout from Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua triggered widespread reaction throughout the boxing world. While some fans were quick to praise Jake for his bravery and willingness to face such a dangerous opponent, many respected figures in boxing strongly rejected that viewpoint. Luke Moss was among the most vocal critics of the praise Jake received. He stated clearly that the response to the fight was heavily overblown. According to Thomas, people were applauding Jake merely for lasting in the ring rather than actually competing. He pointed out that Anthony Joshua did not fight at full force and intentionally held back many of his punches. From Thomas's perspective, this was not a competitive boxing match, but a controlled situation in which a top-level heavyweight showed restraint. He argued that Jake's performance failed to show skill, development, or tactical awareness. Instead, Thomas said Jake appeared overwhelmed for most of the fight, struggled to engage in meaningful exchanges, and showed no real intention of trying to win.
I initially watched the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. I think I would say that my conclusions now still match most of what I said when I was watching on the initial broadcast, which is that Joshua, he did look a little rusty to me. I'm sorry, but he did. That Jake is, probably a little bit better than we suggested he might be. When I say we, I mean like the hardcore fight community, the fight fans, the people who work in the industry to a degree. Sometimes there is a suggestion that he can't do anything. And I would be like, well, that's a little much. He can do stuff. I mean, it's limited what he can do. It's very limited what he can do. But there is a little bit too much anger towards him sometimes, or just dismissiveness, maybe is a better way to put that. And I don't really co-sign on some of that. He's got some ability. He's not good. Listen to me very carefully. He's not good. But is he the caricature that he is sometimes made out to be in terms of his pure boxing skill? I think it goes a little overboard sometimes. But that isn't the reason why I wanted to make this video. What I wanted to make this video about is two things. One, after the fight was over, I got on social media and people were like hugely negative about the fight. And I did not think that the fight was good. In fact, I thought the fight was, like most Jake Paul fights, pretty bad, although him surviving kind of feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled his...
Lawrence Owaki looked at the situation from a different perspective, but arrived at a similarly critical conclusion. He centered his comments on the inherent danger of boxing itself, explaining that a single mistake in the ring can end a fight instantly, regardless of fame or preparation. From his viewpoint, Jake Paul stepping in with someone like Anthony Joshua was reckless. Owaki stressed that boxing is unforgiving and that mismatches do not become acceptable simply because they attract attention. He described the decision to take the fight as unnecessary and foolish, pointing out how easily the outcome could have been far worse. Despite the strong criticism, some voices did acknowledge Jake Paul's willingness to absorb punishment and keep going. After the fight, reports stated that Jake was taken to the hospital and suffered a serious jaw injury. A few commentators viewed this as a sign of toughness, arguing that regardless of the performance, Jake showed courage by entering the ring with a fighter of Joshua's caliber. These reactions focused more on resilience than technique. However, even among those offering limited credit, the praise stopped short of recognizing Jake as a legitimate professional boxer. The narrative centered on bravery, not ability.
The boxing fans by going out on a shield. Guy just ran for his life. I just watched Jake Paul run for his life for like 5-6 rounds. Literally just run for. He was doing football jukes. You guys watched that fight? Ring was big. I made a freaking point about that ring being big, and he used it to his advantage in terms of survival in every way he could. I mean, this guy literally never tried to win a second of the fight. He was trying to throw a home run punch every once in a while. But notice every time he got in the clinch, he just went down. Like he just hugged Anthony Joshua, and then like would go down, and the referee would call it a slip and give him a break, and like he would just kill time that way. Then he was completely angling off. He's completely blading his shoulder off completely to the point where he's so bladed off that he can't even punch. He was just trying to make himself as small of a target as possible. And Anthony Joshua, people are gonna say, "Oh, why didn't Anthony Joshua catch up to him?" Because Anthony Joshua never had fast feet to begin with, and Anthony Joshua honestly should have probably cut off the ring a little bit better. That's my one critique of Joshua. He probably could have cut off the ring a little bit better. Joshua's always never really had the best feet, but in terms of cutting off the ring, he could have at least done that. But honestly, what do you want the guy to do? I mean, this guy ran for his life in a 22 by 22 foot ring. That ring was huge. That ring was huge. I can't believe what I just watched, guys. I'm seriously like, dude, that's it. That's it. This was AJ's chance. Could have went out on his shield and his chance to say, yeah, get the respect of the boxing community. This was the one that could have got him the respect of the boxing community. This was the one. He came out with all these rap crap and then doing the Hulkamania crap and all that other stuff and all that stuff. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, is he that calm, or is he literally just setting up his own demise? I don't know. AJ came out to the ring really serious, which would you expect? And then, I mean, he never fought. Jake never fought. Like, he never fought the whole fight. And then in the end, what happened? You get stopped anyway. You took some shots anyway. His mouth was bleeding at the end of the fight.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next time.